and our domesticated animals and plants. Today, we and the animals we raise account for 96% of the mass of mammals and 70% of the birds on Earth. There's very little wild left. This biodiversity loss is not just a tragedy, it's the single biggest problem we face. Without biodiversity, the world as we know it doesn't work. Our planet needs its wild spaces. Every one is a component in the global machine. Only if they are all healthy can the planet run smoothly. A less wild world is less able to provide for our needs, less able to maintain dependable weather and seasons, less able to absorb our impact. Biodiversity equals stability, and stability is what we need most of all. Can we turn this situation around? Can we rewild the world? Well, maybe, due to one key change. As societies develop, something is happening that has never happened before. People are having fewer children. Globally, since the year 2000, the number of people under 16 years old has hardly changed. The main reason our population is still rising is because people are living longer. If this continues, our population may finally stop growing by the turn of the century. By investing in education and women's rights and raising people out of poverty, we could bring about peak human even sooner. This changes everything. It gives us the opportunity we need to regain our balance. The plan for our planet is remarkably simple. Reduce our impact by making sure that everything we do, we can do forever. For the biggest gains, we could concentrate our efforts on 4 goals: phasing out fossil fuels and replacing them with renewables. This will not only slow the warming of the planet and the acidification of the ocean, but it will lead to clean air for all of us. Upgrading to efficient food production and reducing our consumption of meat. We'll require far less space to provide for ourselves, leaving more for grasslands, reducing deforestation and our demand for fresh water, and feeding more people with healthier, more affordable food. Working together to properly manage our ocean. A global network of no-fish zones and a treaty on the use of international waters would restore the health of the ocean so it actually produces more fish for us all to eat. Working hard to keep hold of the wild populations we still have, encouraging nature wherever we can. In the ocean, on land we no longer need, and even in our cities. If we make these changes, we'll be a long way to becoming a species in balance with nature once again. We will have taken a remarkable journey, from 1 million people struggling to survive, to several billion living long, healthy lives on a stable planet, able to provide for all our needs. Only at that point will the Anthropocene, the age of humans, be truly underway. At that point, we will be proud to call it our planet. How do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? We open our eyes to this moment in history. Think on a planetary scale. embrace the challenge we face, and do something we humans are very good at: change the world.
We are facing an existential crisis.
Unlike anything the world has ever seen.
We need to take action.
Everyone has to stand up!
The warning is not a new one.
Our world faces a triple planetary crisis of climate change, nature loss and pollution.
For generations, humanity, often without realizing it, has been destroying the natural world. In the name of progress, we have polluted the Earth's oceans, chopped down its forests and clouded its skies. Today, nature and our own survival rest on a knife's edge.
It's time to ratchet up the action that we need to have at the country level.
The United Nations Environment Programme was established with one goal in mind: to unite the world in saving our planet.
It is clear that the environmental crisis which is confronting the world will profoundly alter the future destiny of our planet.
For 5 decades, UNEP has used science and its mandate to bring the world together to help nations find solutions to grave environmental threats.
What is this pollution that we have heard so much about?
The Mediterranean is sick. It's being poisoned slowly but steadily for those who need it most.
The 1970s found a world grappling with an unprecedented crisis of pollution. Could the seemingly irreparable damage be undone? UNEP inspired the world to take action, preventing oil spills and toxic discharge by ships, uniting 143 coastal states to limit ocean pollution and save marine life, reducing air pollution and ending the scourge of acid rain. But soon, the world would face its biggest environmental challenge yet.
The destruction of the ozone layer on a global scale is no longer just a theory. The hole over the Antarctica is no longer an isolated seasonal phenomenon.
If the breach continued to grow, the planet would suffer lethal levels of ultraviolet radiation, harming human health, biodiversity, and climate. In 1987, UNEP facilitated the Montreal Protocol. Over 30 countries agreed to phase out the production of almost 100 ozone-depleting substances. The protocol remains one of the greatest achievements of multilateralism.
All nations gathered here to be proud of what we have achieved.
This success set the tone for a series of powerful accords, limiting the movement of toxic waste across borders, protecting the Earth from dangerous, long-lasting chemicals, and restricting the international trade in mercury. Most recently, in 2021, UNEP finished a 2-decade-long campaign to rid the world of highly toxic leaded petrol, saving an estimated 1 million lives each year. As the world grappled with pollution and waste, another crisis was brewing.
I have dreamt of seeing the great herds of wild animals, jungles and rainforests, full of birds and butterflies. But now I wonder if they will even exist for my children to see.
Poaching and habitat loss were pushing some of the world's most iconic animals to the brink of extinction. Driven by science, UNEP supported a series of international treaties, limiting and in some cases banning the trade of endangered species, safeguarding migratory animals, expanding protected areas, and increasing financing for biodiversity protection. The seminal Earth Summit in Brazil introduced the idea of sustainable development.
This is an historical moment for the mobilization of all peoples of the world.
Over the last 5 decades, UNEP has helped more than 100 countries enshrine the right to a healthy environment in their constitutions and produced scientific studies to guide member states in their decision-making. In 2012, a new international body was established to provide scientific data on biodiversity in a joint effort from UNEP and other UN organizations. In 2019, it found that 1 million species face the threat of extinction, underscoring the urgency to act.
Every action we take alters the earth that future generations will inherit.
The world is starting to recognize the effects of planetary warming, but UNEP began sounding the alarm 3 decades ago. As early as 1988, UNEP and the World Meteorological Organization launched the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. For over 30 years, IPCC science has helped member states counter climate change, earning the body a Nobel Prize for its work. UNEP-backed studies have informed some of the planet's most crucial climate accords. These include a 1992 agreement that set a template for curbing greenhouse gas emissions, followed by the Kyoto Protocol and the landmark 2015 Paris Agreement.
I'm proud to announce that 175 parties have signed the Paris Agreement.
UNEP has also mobilized 450 banks, insurers and investors to help create a more sustainable world.
We don't want fossil fuels anymore.
A lot has happened in the last 50 years, but it's the next 10 that will be pivotal for life on this planet.
But in fact, what you and I and other ordinary people around the world can do will not by itself save the natural world. The great decisions, the great disasters that face us can only be dealt with by governments. And that's why this organization is so important.
Okay, an amazing evening to us all. I believe it's been a wonderful evening. I mean, a wonderful week indeed across the countries, and you've been able to make great impacts this week. Yeah, I know that working from Monday to Friday, morning to evening can be very stressful sometimes. However, it's our call to, this is our call, and we keep making this impact in the life of this future generation. It's so good to have each and every participant in today's call. We are so glad to have you joining this. This is the 5th series of the workshop series for this Teach4SDGs. And I remain Emmanuel Oluwoyo. I'll be the moderator for today's session as well. And I'll also be speaking in line to some aspects of the program before we go to the main session, which we are to have today. However, we also like to take feedbacks. We like to take comments and from each and every facilitator, educators that are on the call as we speak. And to all our viewers from YouTube, you can use the comment section on YouTube to share your information. We can see you, Gambuse from South Africa, and Yakubu from Kaduna, and each and everyone down YouTube. Okay, Sailu from Uganda. It's good to have you connecting on YouTube. So this evening, we would like to first take feedbacks. We would like to have you share your experience. We also like to hear things you've even done in your respective schools ahead of the completion of the program. What are the new developments like? And what are the things you are also aspiring to do? Okay, we have Mr. Benjamin's hand up. Okay, you can unmute your mic and speak.
Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel.
Good evening, Mr. Benjamin. It's good to have you on the call as well.
Thanks for the progress made so far. The program has been very, very impactful. And as I said earlier, we have been doing these things in our school, and the program has just come here to help us to intensify. I wanted to ask a question the other day, and my battery went off. I was unable to have access to the tracking and evaluation form. The second tracking and evaluation form. When I charged my phone, I learned that the phone was not to be shared on the WhatsApp group. So I don't know if it is possible for us that attended the program on that day. I believe you have a list of those that were present. Can you kindly send it as a mail to us so that we can fill the form? I believe it is done because some people will not attend the program, but we want to fill the form. So those that attend, I believe you have their record, the attendance for that day. That is number one. Number two, I was not okay with what the speaker on that day said concerning to stop the usage of paper, and then we should be careful the way we go back to communicate with students in the bid to implement the SDG goals. You cannot get rid with paper because you are trying to preserve, hand over a clean atmosphere to the next generation. I don't want to go deep into that. We are all educationists. Today, we are struggling with people with very, very bad handwriting. So in as much as we are trying to embrace technology, we should not. There are some things that technology can never, never, never replace. For instance, I'm sorry to make this example. Technology cannot replace what the role the husband can play to the wife on the bed. There are some things technology cannot do. Technology, and in fact, there's a feedback I would love to share with all of us. During the COVID, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Benjamin.
I will not talk too much.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
No. It's not like you are talking too much. We are going to get to this. And it's very important that each and everyone speak. We want to hear you. We want to hear your perspective, your own perspective.
So just a minute, then I'll drop the mic. Just a minute, please, a minute. After the feedback for the COVID session, a lot of lessons that were taught online, the students' performance was very, very poor, and a good number of them asked that the class should be retaken. The feedback was that the students enjoyed the physical lessons more than the online lessons with all the technologies. So the truth is, technology cannot replace everything. You cannot get rid of paper. So we should be careful the things we go back to communicate. We should not just go and start dishing out the information. The last thing is that, how can we have access to these grants? I am currently in deep love with the SDG goals. For instance, me, I am pushing biogas technology. How can we have access to these grants so that we can pursue these goals? Is there any way you can help us? Because we saw something on the platform, and Nigeria was not on the list. So how can we have access to personal grants so that we can, please, very, very important. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
And I'm going to respond to it. So what you said, I will start from the use of paper, and the truth remains that paper will always be a daily use for each and every individual. However, our way of using the paper, our consumption pattern, and also disposing, the waste management pattern is what we need to see to. And there are people that dispose paper to the landfill, and there are organizations there are schools that try that use their paper for all other things. So I am going to say this, that it's not like it's saying that you have to stop using paper totally. However, there are scenarios whereby you might not need to use a paper. Take, for example, I remember that some years back, I always buy a diary. That's why I note things down every day. But now I have to go digital. I can use my phone and it's well synchronized to my laptop. The same information I have on my laptop, I have it on my phone. So if instead of me wasting money to buy diary, maybe 2,000, 5,000, I can easily have this thing on my tab or on my phone, and easily I can check it and I can even track it to know that, okay, this task that I'm setting for this day, have I really achieved it? Have I really been able to work towards it? So these are things we always need to be very cautious of. And regarding the grants, we are very concerned about that grant, just like you mentioned, and grants will not come without innovation. That's one thing. See, for each and everyone on this call to attract grants as teachers, innovation or solution you are pioneering. I know that some has initiative, there are some people here that have initiative and they've been working on maybe tree planting projects, they've been working on various projects across their communities. However, how are you putting these grants together? I mean, how are you putting your solutions together? And sincerely, I can say it's only if you are lazy. I mean, it's only if one is lazy, that is when you won't see opportunities. I can assure you, and it's part of one of the things which you are benefiting from this program, because the community manager for ADEV is going to join the team very soon as we are rounding up the program. And what they are going to be sharing with each and every educators are opportunities which you can always apply to. How, like the one that was shared today now, we know that Nigeria was not listed there for some reasons. And I'm very sure the organization that removed Nigeria is not like they did it intentionally. So their focus may be maybe in 2023, they are working on 5 countries in Africa. Maybe in 2022, Nigeria was one of the beneficiaries. That's why Nigeria is removed. So no reason why should Nigeria be removed from opportunities like this. But I can assure you that in as much as you have an innovative idea which you are working on currently, you can always get grants, even if it is maybe 500, if it is, no matter how small it is, you always get grant opportunities in line to your initiative. Okay, can we have Mr. John? And those of us that are raising our hands, you don't have your profile name properly. This my brother with a phone number. Please, can you rename your profile or your country name, your first name, then your last name. Okay, Mr. John, you can unmute your mic and ask your question or share your feedback with us. How has in training been? What has been the impact so far? Have you really been enjoying the session? And tell us what has changed in recent time that you've been enrolling on this training. Hello, John, are you there? Hello, John, are you there? You can unmute your mic and speak.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really want to appreciate this platform. It has been very, very educative, and I want to say thank you to everyone that has made it for this teaching and trainings. Also, I want to appreciate all the speakers so far. My sole reason for raising my hands was just to comment on Mr. Benjamin's plight that he explained earlier, and just to possibly just to make him understand the perspective where the teacher was, or the lecturer, so to say, was coming from. He was not in any way against the paper, whatever. He was just trying to make us understand the current situation we are, or the current trend that we are. If you could remember vividly, he made mention of his experience at one of the universities. He went to give a lecture how the students were very zero interested in their own lecturer's lecture, and he was trying to explain how he brought in technology to make the teaching or the lecturing exciting and interesting for them. And with that, they saw it as fun. Learning became fun. So it was never trying to make it look like the use of writings on paper was something that is obsolete. It was only trying to suggest that based on the current level where we are right now, we should imbibe the use of technology in our teaching, even as teachers. Now, I believe most of us here are teachers, if not every one of us here are teachers. Now, to be more practical, if you go into the class and you are and you are still using your own primitive method of trying to write on the board, and you will discover that even if the students are used to it, by the time you switch into something else that they have not been used to, possibly using technology, it will bring about a change. Students want changes. Pupils want changes. They don't want a recycled strategy or recycled method. And this is where technology comes in. And I feel that is where he was trying to open up our minds to and make us understand the reason why we must embrace the use of technology. It was never, and of course we should know this, even in the developed countries, they still make use of pen and paper in a very low, in a very minimized way, but they still make use of it. But then he's not trying to say, okay, this thing should be abolished, or we shouldn't make use of it at all. Not at all. And I really want to thank everyone, Mr. Emmanuel himself, and all the speakers so far. I have learned so much. In fact, I'm so very eager to learn today. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate. God bless.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. John. And that's a very good feedback. And we also appreciate the enlightenment which you also shared, the use of paper. However, I know that sometimes these are discussions we are supposed to be having in our communities, but on our community platform. However, due to some reasons, we won't be able to have it. But definitely, these are things we get to share and with each other. And thank God, today's session is on innovation and technology. And I believe the facilitator, once she starts, she's going to do justice to that. However, I know that there are some key questions and there are some key feedback and testimonies which we are still going to be sharing. Okay, I can see. All right, Sanusi, you can unmute your mic.
Okay, hello everyone, and a very good evening to those of you in Nigeria, and to all my brothers and sisters around the African continent. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
We can hear you. Speak on.
Thank you very much. Okay, I just want to appreciate everyone, and especially you people for these wonderful sessions. I want to commend each and every one of you. And then at the same time, I want to tell you that it has been very, very impactful. And I've been learning a lot right from the onboarding session to this particular session. And I just have one little concern, which I said I would like to ask for clarification from you. For the beginning, I was able to attend the onboarding session live from the beginning to the end. But the subsequent sessions, which had to do with the embedding education, the green economy, the climate change, and the rest, I wasn't able to follow it live. I started, but due to some reasons, I couldn't finish it up to the end, but I was able to follow it up later. So I don't know. I learned that there is also an attendance for it, which I particularly missed almost all, because the first one, there was no attendance, which I attended throughout. But the other ones that I missed some part and later follow it up, I missed actually the attendance. So I just want to know whether there is any way I can be able to key into those attendances. That's actually my concern, because I am really enjoying this program and I am learning a lot from it. And I would love to have something to show that, yes, I attended this program and I have something to share with my brothers and sisters around the country and also around the globe in general. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sanusi. Thank you very much for that comments and also the question which you asked. I know some of us too are already having that question in mind regarding attendance and maybe regarding the evaluation process. However, there's a purpose for the evaluation process, and this is where the organization gets their feedback and which they study over and over. However, it's also important that they've also created that to track the participation of each and every educators on the call. And I know that looking at the numbers of those those that were onboarded for the project, I know we have, let me say we have like 10% difference to those who are on the community currently, and even to those who are currently on this call. I understand that we have some people on YouTube as well. So these are things that the organization have decided on to use to track our participation. However, in as much as you have you participated, I think part of the structure which they have on board is in as much as you participated and it's been recorded that you have like 2 sessions which you've recorded in the tracking and evaluation form, there is no issue. But whoever that does not have any record at all, you don't have a single record at all, that's when there might be issue in line to the final processing and all. So you don't really have any issue, and we still have a session today, endeavor to give your evaluation and also fill the form. And likely we still have another session tomorrow too, but that will be communicated at the end of today's program. Though I still have some information I'm directed to share, but I would just like to take those who have their hands up first before we move straight to this session. Okay, can we have Richard from Ekiti State? Richard, can you unmute your mic and speak?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, and your team for a great job. I have learned through the process a lot, and it's really helping to reshaping my activities here at Ekiti. However, my question is geared towards the modules. At the beginning, at the onboarding, we were informed that there were certain modules or courses online we were to take alongside the conferences and the workshop. But till now, we have not been able to access, or a link to those modules have not been shared. So I'm a bit concerned. Is it that that's part of the program will come after the conferences, or it's there's a link I missed that I'm not aware of? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Richard. Self-paced courses has been shared since week 2.
What?
Wow, so you missed that. Please check your email, refer back to your email. I will also inform the communication manager to share that on the WhatsApp platform. It's been shared. It's been shared. I think on that list, the academic unit structured like 10 modules which we can take, and these are modules we can take at our own very convenient time, and which are also going to aid our learning and skills in line to SDGs and all other activities. Some are not related to SDGs, some are related to our classroom activities. Yes, how we engage our students and the like. So you can choose based on your preference, and you can decide to do everything. But it's a self-paced modules which has been recommended to us, and they're also going to share more information. I think I will just the communication manager is going to re-emphasize on that. We share that it's a document which we are to download, and this has been shared from the second of the program. Okay, I can see. Let's have Grace from Uganda. Grace, can you unmute your mic and ask or share your feedback? Hello, Grace. Okay, let's have Innocent from Kaduna, if Grace is not there yet. Innocent, you can unmute your mic and speak. Innocent Mercy, you can unmute your mic and speak, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My question is based on the SDG. You main five areas of the SDG is one, people partnership and so on. SDG partnership with the whole world. They say by 2030 they have achieved all their aims, but at this time, how do they partnership with, especially the country in Nigeria, where we are not having access to the grants? How do we go about the SDG in rural areas and areas where that is not motorable? And again, being in, they want to, by the end of 2030, they want also to face economic challenges and political problems. Like in the country of Africa, where terrorism has become the eating fibre of our country, how do they help to eradicate it or to reduce it so that there is some rural areas so that SDG, the educators will be able to go there and teach them and tell them more about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Innocent. Thank you for that question. I know it's in line to engagements with rural communities. I still mentioned this recently, and we all have a role to play in that. However, we know that the United Nations, that's the 193 members countries, they've been able to come together and adopt these SDGs, and we are all involved, and we all have a role to play. However, like these are great opportunities for people that really want to take up these activities with engaging the rural communities in line with SDGs. And I will keep re-emphasizing on this, that these are great opportunities that can attract grants. We on our own part, we share this update with you, we share this information with you. However, sometimes, you know, when you are applying for a grant, it also requires you to have something you've done before, to have a picture you can show, to have a sample of your work or sample of your, they want to know your story, they want to know your impact so far. So I always say that don't let us wait until we are, maybe you have $1 million to be able to make an impact. From your own little community, from your own, even your own community where you are from, you can go back there and make some impact, which is not going to cost you any money, and it's going to be of great advantage and great blessing to those younger generations that are there. And like I said, we are not going to leave everything. It's not in our, we can't leave everything to maybe United Nations, and you know, they are focusing on different countries. We have our own role to play in Africa. We have our own role to play in our different countries. So activities of SDGs, I can assure you that in as much as we are putting more effort on this, it's going to yield greatly for you in your own community and also on your own aspiration which you have. Okay, can we have Obuna Mark? Please unmute your mic and share your feedback or ask your question. Please, those of us that are on YouTube, you can use the comment section to share your question, and this is going to be responded to. Okay, I can see a comment from Tosh.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, Marco Bona.
Okay, good evening. Where are you connecting from?
Yeah, this is Marco Bona. Contributing from Katsina State, Nigeria.
Okay, Katsina State, Nigeria. So
Yeah,
just,
yes, sir.
just rename properly to that, Castina Ogunaman. All right, we can hear you. Speak on, please.
Yeah, first and foremost, I really appreciate the last week's speaker that spoke on green economy. And I was meant, with my own, I believe that green economy cannot be actualized or achieved. But from last week's program, I was meant to know that we can indeed.
Mr. Oguna, we can't hear you again. Hello, Mr. Oguna. I think we lost him. That must be a network issue. Okay, can we have Grace now? Grace, can you kindly unmute your mic and speak? Hello, Grace. Okay, you can unmute your mic and speak now.
Okay, can you hear me? Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I'm a part of this training. It's been really great. I have learned a lot, and for education for sustainable development, we are trying here in my country to make sure that we teach the children the best that they can get out of it. And coupled with this training, I'm glad that it is helping me a lot. However, I have to express the challenge that we are having, like in my country. Sometimes the power is off and we could not continue with the meeting sessions. And also this meeting takes a lot of data. So sometimes it disconnects before someone has finished the meeting. And at the end of the day, we find ourselves not filling the evaluation forms. So I was of a request that next time, maybe we'll try other means, maybe participants getting some kind of data to help out. Otherwise, we would miss on the important things that we are supposed to be learning from the trainings. I would like to thank you for the efforts and always responding to some of the comments and challenges that we put across. I know it is overwhelming, but you're trying your best, but kindly talk to the people concerned to help us with data next time. Otherwise, I'm so glad that I'm a part of this. Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Welcome. It's so good to have your team from Uganda always repping and all the time, always on the call. And okay, let's have Nobet from Kenya before we have the last person, then we move straight into the session.
Okay, thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you and good evening, everyone. Mr. Emmanuel, I hope you can hear me.
Absolutely, we can.
Yeah, so I'm also glad to be part of this from Kenya. We are fine and we really welcome this. Of course, 2030 is nearing, and I think as at now, when I was joining, it was my main objective was that you do it to the fullest, such that by the time we are done with this meeting, we go and ensure that we do something that can at least show that the world is moving towards achieving the SDG goals before 2030. So it is my view and it's my really prayers that we do it and do it to the fullest. Let us not just talk online and then finish everything via online like this. I think that one will really help us, especially in Kenya here, where we are still struggling with the new curriculum. If we incorporate this one as soon as now, I think it will really help change the country and Africa at large. Otherwise, I am grateful and really appreciate this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nobet. That's a wonderful comment from you and feedback from you. And just like I'll start from what you said in line to the curriculum and how we can get to accelerate more action in line to achieving these SDGs in our communities and also in our schools. Yes, it's not going to end here. And I think it's part of the assignments which I'm given to share this evening. The project is not meant to head through this training. There are still some things we have to do as educators after this training, and I'm going to share more insights on that as well. Then just like Madam Grace from Uganda said, well, it's going to definitely the management, all these are being forwarded to them. And I can say that these are great opportunities which we all have to make do use of very well. And I always say this, that no matter how small it is, no matter, even if it's just for those of us that could not attend all the sessions completely, I know that the ones you attended were so impactful, and definitely you can get to rewatch this session. And those watching on YouTube, there is a way you can reduce the amount of data which you are going to be, you are going to be exhausting in every workshop. I think there is a settings to that whereby you can reduce the megapixel or frame time frames per seconds of the video visuals on YouTube. And well, all these are being shared with the management, and definitely these are things that we are going to have progress on and positive impact on. Okay, let's just take the last person from Kebbi State before we move to the information which we have for today. Then we move to the facilitator for today. Okay, Yusuf, you can unmute your mic and speak. Hello, Yusuf. Hello, Yusuf. You can unmute your mic and speak. Yusuf, we can hear you. If you are there. Hello. I don't know. I can't hear him from my hand. But okay, let me just take the comments on YouTube before I share the information. If I can see if there's any question from YouTube. Okay, I want to make a live comment, but all right. Okay, these are just comments in line to. These are comments in line to the activities on YouTube. To those of us that are watching on YouTube, that's great. So right about now, we still have. Okay, you can unmute your mic, John. You can unmute your mic, please, John.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Please, you can speak on.
Okay. I would like to know what moves you have been making to discuss with the Federal Ministry of Education.
Sorry, come again.
I would like to know if you have commenced moves to speak with the Federal Ministry of Education as regards implementation.
If
you have been discussing or you've held talks with the Federal Ministry of Education.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the only bottleneck the management has concerning the Ministry of Education engagement is the transition process. And most of our projects are also on hold discussing with this ministry. As we all know that we are going to be having a new set of leaders across all the MDAs. However, these are things that are being structured out and across the ministry, and definitely, and like I also shared with someone that there are various organizations that are very interested in this project, and maybe you belong to an organization in your country and you feel okay, they can also adopt and see to upscaling the projects in your country. Please feel free to reach out to us, and definitely we are at ADEF, the management are always concerned about partnership for the goals. So these are things which we are also looking forward to, and we can assure you that it's going to be of great impact also in your country, not just in within the countries that already are present in the program. So I believe I responded to your question, right? Okay, do you want to share your comments now, Yusuf? Hello, Yusuf. Oguna, I think we've already had you. We've already had a comment from your hand. I don't know if you still want to say anything, but that's the basic information. Okay, you can unmute and speak, John.
Yeah, okay. So now I was still trying to respond to your thoughts or bring further suggestions. I don't know, before I went muted. Can you hear me?
Sorry, you can try as much as possible to be more audible. But we can hear you, but it's just quite low.
Okay. No, I said, so if you people are still around the bottleneck, I think while that is still in transition, while we wait for the handovers for our own country, but I think people should probably intensify efforts towards federal ministries of education of all African countries present here, because I think it's going to be more better, because I think all federal government, all federal ministries of education for different countries have test pilot schools. And for Nigeria, as a case study, our test pilot schools are unity colleges. Unity colleges are where they test to run anything they want to test in any school before they introduce to state and to private schools. So I think people should probably call all directors and principals that are involved in the administration or running of the unity colleges to a round table and probably hold meetings with them and also educate them as regards matters like this, so that we at the bottom would face any challenge. Because to be told, if they don't approve of it, that I saw a chat from Jigawa saying that the principal said he knew nothing about that, but he has faint ideas. SDG has sponsored quite a number of projects in different schools, but the directors or principals, I'm not sure we want to support this, because to them it's where we are going to be cutting more than they can offer. So I think people should probably call them to a round table, discuss with them, and tell them the essence of it. Me, for one, I want to just get a little bit further before I know because of the time, but me, for one, I've been working on e-notes for quite a while, and I tell my students to print notes, being that 80 lists, for instance, cannot be sufficient for the whole term's work. But printing of notes, which covers the whole term's work, could be less than 40 pages, which is saving a tree and which is a sustainable goal. So yeah, I think people should really call them to the table and let them try to move along with the present trend and move along with the world as the world is going, because very, very soon all these things have to face out. We cannot, at the detriment of everybody and our future, say we want to destroy all the trees and please one set of individuals who refuse to be dynamic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And I can assure you, just like the management already structured out, there are ideals, international government organizations that are also in the pipeline of these projects. And definitely it's things that, like, our major goal is to see the SDGs incorporated in the curriculum of all the 3 levels, and primary, secondary, tertiary. And it's a process, and the process, I believe we are making progress gradually. And this time around, I would just quickly like to share some information, because it's also good. Most of the times we're having our master class today, our workshop today. There are some informations that we miss out due to the fact that maybe some people had battery issues or they left the workshop early. So there is also a learning resource link that's been shared. So if you don't have access to this yet, please kindly take note of that. There are some resources that have been shared with us on the backend. It takes you to the Google Drive where you can always download, and there are various documents that can also help our teaching aid with the students, and also which also has been shared since week 2, which it will be so good we download these courses and see how we can engage the students with it too. Though it's mostly to our own benefit as educators. It's less to the students. And these are things that we have to make good use of. We need to study very well. And it has a long-time effect. Like I was telling someone recently that even if you are taught SDGs and you imbibe SDGs, you adopted SDGs, and you decided that you don't want to teach your students or you are not teaching your students, it's going to, the students are going to have, is going to be a kind of resultant effect whereby they are learning from, because there are some things that is going to change in you. And that's why this program, that's one of the objectives of this program. There are some new principles, there are some new ideas that are going to change in you as a teacher, as an educator. So it's very important we make use of these self-paced courses beyond the live workshop series we've had from various industry experts. And thank God, most of the people that spoke to us, they are not just in the academia alone, they are also doing excellently great excellently well in the development sector. So lastly, by this weekend, latest on Saturday evening, the LinkedIn community is going to be shared with us. You know, for now, we are still keeping with the WhatsApp community, but we are taking it to, there is a professional level which we are to take it to, and it's also going to be shared with us. So for those of us, we've already mentioned it earlier that those of us that do not have a LinkedIn account, this is one of the accounts that we must have, which also help to promote, get to promote our profile and connection, whereby you can get to connect with other experts in line to what we are doing. So it's been an amazing feedback session, which we already had from each and every educators. And those of us that are connecting on YouTube, I can read your comments, and thank you for always joining time. Right about now, we'll be starting with, we are going to be having a session right away as we have our speaker on the call. Thank you for joining. We sincerely appreciate this time. We sincerely appreciate having you on the call this evening. Sorry, we might not be able to take more questions or feedbacks again. It's been a long hour and series of taking this. And before she comes up, I'm going to share our profile briefly for us to know who exactly our facilitator is. And definitely, this is going to be another transforming moment and a very great session indeed. Okay, all right, just in few seconds, the next voice you hear is the profile of our facilitator for today, and after which she is going to be starting and leading today's session in line to the workshop series for today.
Dr. Olunriola Oluwakemi is an educational technology researcher and consultant with a special interest in the application of modern science and technology in the field of education. She is a global educator with extensive experience in digital pedagogies and a passion for teachers' empowerment. Dr. Olunriola is the lead consultant of Exquitech Education Technology, an edtech consultancy that is a Microsoft Global Training Partner, providing training support and consultancy on Microsoft tools for education, and partners with the UNESCO MGIEP to scale the digital teacher certification course in Africa. She is a highly effective educator with extensive experience with students and schools from different backgrounds, with a genuine interest in fostering students' cognitive and social growth, 21st century skills, and technology use. She has earned recognition as a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellow, Microsoft Global Learning Mentor, and a Dixit Institute Global Impactor. Please, let's make welcome Dr. Olunriola Oluwakemi as she leads the session Innovation and Technology for Education and Curriculum Development.
Thank you for joining, Dr. Olunriola. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, for the invites. And thanks to those who are already welcoming me on the chats. So it's a privilege and an honor to be here to speak to seasoned teachers. I understand you've been in training for quite a number of weeks, and I believe that you are already building capacity and expanding your knowledge and growing. Because for you to be in the education space, you have signed up a contract to be a lifelong learner. And so I personally normally would take up every opportunity I have to increase knowledge in different areas of interest. And till date, I am still learning. And so when I see teachers who give themselves to, give their time to participating in such programs like this, I know that many were invited and not all showed up. And for the few who have showed up shows that you truly are teachers who are ready to embrace what the 21st century wants to throw at us, even at this point in time. I came in at the point where the last speaker was sharing, and sorry, I'm trying to just quickly share my screen while I talk. So yeah, and the little I had, I can just imagine the substance that you have been engaging with in the past few weeks that you started this training program. And so I want to congratulate you all. I'm also excited with the fact that your students will be the better for it by the time you're done with this engagement. I know it is focused on teaching SDGs, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about that, especially integrating these SDGs into the classroom, into the curriculum. I will be focusing mainly on how you use technology, because even in teaching the SDGs, there is a role that technology can play. Yeah, it's on my slide. In ensuring that you teach these concepts effectively and innovatively, like my session says. All right, so I found myself and I'm sharing my slide, and I will just run with it as, excuse me. So innovation and technology for education and curriculum development, that's the topic addressing this evening. And I think I have some slides there that'll be on some interactive sessions, so I also expect responses from you. But innovation and technology for education and curriculum development, that's what we are looking at this morning. I always love to start my presentations with this quote. Since I found this quote, I snipped it, and I have always kept it before me because it just speaks to me. And this is one of the things that drive me for professional development, even as an educator. It says, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we were taught. We taught yesterday, we rob them of their tomorrow. And this is really so apt, because we know that today's students are wired differently. We can't imagine what they know and how technologically wired they are compared to when we were growing up. One of this, I think that was about almost 8 years ago or more. My daughter then, my last of them, my friend came in. I didn't have a tablet. I wasn't using one. And she had an iPad. And then she came in visiting at the office. I think my daughter was there with me. And my daughter picked up her iPad, and at that age, knew where to go to look for pictures, and began to swipe, and just got herself engaged in with the tablet. And I was looking, and I was like, just wondering how it was an innate ability. She didn't need to be taught that this is where the picture image is. This is how you navigate the screen, by swiping and all that. And this you see continually, even with the younger generation, and even at primary school level. So because I understand that we have primary and secondary school teachers here, so even at primary school level, even at pre-primary, you find young children. It's a common scenario these days, being technologically savvy. And so what you think sometimes, and I still do that today, sometimes when I get some gadgets or devices, or maybe kits sometimes, because I do run a STEM hub. I get kits, and I bring them home and let my children explore because it's faster. There are things I may never discover, even going through the guide and whatever, that long journey. But all I need to do is just give them access. And before I know it, in a day, 2, they tell mommy, you could do this, mommy, this can happen. If you do it this way, this happens. And even sometimes for your devices, you can attest with me, for those of us who have kids, you wouldn't even know that you could do this or that on it, and they come showing you, how did you do this? So we keep learning from them. They are wired differently. And with that knowledge, we should know, like the previous slide said, we can't teach them the way we were taught, or the way your previous class. From us, sometimes you get fixated on our teaching practice, having taught for 10 years, having taught for 15 years, and we forget that the classroom environment is changing. The students who come sitting in the room are different from the students who sat in your room 5 years ago. And so that awareness is very important, and technology is actually driving this change. And so we have teachers who have mastery in content, but are delivering those contents in very boring ways, in quotes, and have this challenge with our children not engaging or focusing. Yeah, we have children in this dispensation who have multitudes of things that are calling for their attention, are distractions. In our days, we watch television by 4. Now you have DSTV, you have YouTube, so if you are not creating media balance for your kids, they can actually be online 24/7. We didn't even have that as a distraction, as an option. If you put on your TV before 4 o'clock, you have lines of different colors just waiting, or at most you have the static sound. So it wasn't even an option. But now we have children in our classrooms that have this kind of engagements out of classroom, this kind of distractions, this kind of attention grabbing applications and all that. And yet we want to teach how we were taught yesterday. And I hear often educators complaining about children not wanting to learn. All they want to do is be on their phones. All they want to do is WhatsApp. All they want to do is social media. All they want to do is, and I hear this, and I wonder, and for those who bother to engage me, I said, so why don't you meet them where they are? If they want to use their phones, then let them know that they can use their phones for academic purposes. Because the truth is that you cannot turn the tides back. You can't turn the hands of the clock backwards. We are going forward, and things are happening. Technology disruptions is taking place. And as educators, we need to be aware of that. And so how has learning evolved over the course of human history? And what might the future hold for us? That's the question we constantly ask ourselves. And we see the future changing so drastically. Just look back to what we had 5 years ago, where technology disruption was concerned. I'm just talking about 5 years ago. So the students who came in primary 1 have totally different technology knowledge, or need to be empowered with technology knowledge to suit the present day, because there has been a drastic change. And so how are we planning for the future? What does the future hold for us? How are we as educators putting all this into consideration, even as we teach the SDGs and other contents that we have to teach, even as teachers? And the funny thing is that even with this fight against, education is one sector that has been slow to embracing innovation and technology. We see innovation taking place across board in the banking and finance industries, in health, in the health, in the medical, even in almost every sector, agri sector and all that. You see technology disrupting the process. You see people bringing up innovative solutions. And even though we have that growth in the edtech, in the educational sector, the edtech growth, which actually even became more prominent during the COVID, because before the COVID period, we in the edtech space were not, we were what I call voices shouting in the wilderness because it seemed like nobody was really keen, especially in this side of us. And then the pandemic happened and people began to run helter-skelter for digital solutions to solving the issue of distance learning. And then after that, we saw solutions coming up. So yes, we see a growth, but the educational sector has actually been the slowest as it is to embracing innovation. So these are, interesting conversations when you talk about the trend of edtech or revolution in the educational space. And we still see the same thing happening in present day where people are, oh, this is just going to be a distraction. Oh, we don't have budget for this. Oh, all the complaints about using technology in the classroom. So this was a teacher conference in 1703, where then the slates were just been introduced in the classroom. And of course, you had a set of people fighting against slates. I know if you talk about slates now, some of us don't even know when slates were being used. Some of us may have come in that generation, most of us maybe not, when students actually took slates to schools and you had the chalk to write on your slates. There was complaint, oh, what would they do when the slates drop and it breaks? They'll be unable to write. So we've had this resistance. And then when we moved away from that, from chalk and paper, and paper began to come in, you can see in the 18th. And there was, what will happen when they run out of paper? And so that was also, and on and on and on. And then, calculators came in and people were complaining about them depending so much on calculators. And so at every move of innovation in the edtech space, there has been the resistance. And so this is nothing new. But the question is that you educators on this platform, are you going to be part of the resistance, or are you going to be part of the train that is causing innovation even in the edtech space? So today we still use pens, we still use pencils, we still use calculators, and now we have computers, which makes it even easier for us. And I'm sure that no matter what changes up in the future, we will still have people who will complain about it. Oh, technology is a distraction. Oh, we don't want our students online. Oh, and all that. And though yet we do have people embracing it. And now we have AI also bringing in its own disruption. I remember, and just some few days ago, I actually was in a research group with some colleagues from different parts of the country. And somebody mentioned the use of ChatGPT, and someone like, I can never embrace it. She actually used the never in capital letters. And I smiled. I didn't want to get into that conversation because we were a research group and I'm in edtech. Like every other innovation, it has two sides. And so it depends on how you use it innovatively and creatively. So AI isn't just the same way when computers came, there was that complaint. Even AI, we see that resistance coming in. But all that is required is for us to have knowledge on how these things are used. So what is educational technology? We're talking about technology for educational purposes. It has a lot of definitions, but basically what we highlighted here is where we want to focus, is the combination of ICT tools and educational practices aimed at facilitating and enhancing learning. So it is not just the use of ICT tools, it's the use of IT tools using best educational practices and with the objective of facilitating and enhancing learning. Because there's also what I call the technology abuse, where we just use technology for technology's sake. Oh, everybody's on this train. Let's get on board. This is what is happening now. Oh, everybody has a whiteboard, interactive whiteboard in the classrooms, and you see schools running the budgets. Some even going for bank loans so that they can say they're ICT savvy and they have all that thing. But it is beyond having ICT tools. It's using them with best educational practices aimed at facilitating and enhancing learning. And so let us do a quick call it discussion or quick engagement here. We'll be using our chat, so let me open up my chat box, and I'll be asking a few questions in about 4 or so slides. And yes, I would like your engagement. I'm seeing some comments here that I missed. This is lovely. I'll be part of the innovation and technology trend.
So just sorry, let's hold on a bit while Dr. Oluniola comes back on board. I think that's network. Can see our engagement, we're already writing true. Okay, yeah, absolutely, it's true. And let's just hold on a minute while we have Dr. Oluniola back on the call. So, however, I just want to say this, that each and all the presentation slides too, there's a platform for that, for which we can always get this presentation slide to learn on and to study all over again. I'm trying to see if she's back on the call now. Okay, she's back on the call. All right.
Yeah. So I apologize for the short break. What happened was, actually I had my laptop plugged in. I didn't realize it wasn't properly plugged in, so the battery just went out on me, and so I apologize for that. All right, so let's go on. Sorry for that break. So I'll share my screen back. I was asking a question, and okay. Let's just go back quickly to where we were. I see some people already responding. Yeah. So the use of technology ensures. Yeah. So I'll take a few more responses, then we'll move on. So just drop in your response. Is it true? Yeah. True. Very true. Okay. Okay. So I have quite a lot of truths, and so let's see if what research says. So yes, reviews of use of EdTech, particularly in emergencies, suggest that the supply of hardware or educational content, while necessary, is insufficient on its own to deliver learning outcomes. Learning occurs when access to technology is combined with relevant and engaging content. So the question was, the use of technology in education ensures better achievement of learning outcomes. And the answer really, though on face value, you would say true, but really it's not true, except you are using it with well-articulated instructional models, effective teaching presence, learner support, and enabling learning environments. Technology in itself, on its own, does not perform any magic where learning outcomes is concerned. And there are quite a lot of research to prove that. We've seen a lot of organizations, we've seen governments, even within our nation here, put budgets in for devices, hardware, drop this hardware in the hands of students and teachers, no professional development, no training on its use, no contents that are relevant to the curriculum. And then at the end of it all, while even though this technology is available, we don't see the expected improvement in learning outcome. As sometimes it actually has even negative reports where it can actually inhibit learning because it's not serving the purpose. So really what technology isn't in itself the magic maker, but how you actually use it. So the supply of hardware, without the knowing really how the learning is going to occur using that technology, without a combination of relevant and engaging content, at well-articulated instructional model, effective teaching presence, and all that will not actually produce the learning outcomes that we so desire. All right. So that's really about it. So while we understand that technology does have importance, but it's not just about the technology. So this is another question I want to pose. I would also be looking out for your response. Sorry, excuse me. The prime use of technology is to present content in innovative ways. True or false? So I repeat the question and let's read it over again. The prime use of technology in teaching is to present content in innovative ways. Yeah, so I'm getting quite a number of responses. Is it true, 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 true? All right. For the responses we've gotten, yeah, okay. I've gotten one that says depends again on the teacher. Well, let's see what research also has to say. What is the evidence out there? So what does research say? Effective program builds component skills, integrate them through practice, develop the know-how on when to apply them, and couple practice with timely and meaningful feedback. So while we know that digital tools can be used to offer good, innovative presentations, technology, that is not the prime purpose of technology integration in the classroom. There are other areas in which technology comes to play a very important part. It is one of the purposes, but not the prime purpose. It is not just all about presentation. So sometimes, again, why we ask this question, because sometimes when we think about technology use, most of us as educators think about PowerPoint slides, sharing videos, and all that. We simply think about the area of presentation alone and not really focus on the many other faceted areas in which technology can equally enable or enhance the teaching and learning process. Collaboration, flexible assessments, choice of expression. I will be talking about that, personalization that it offers and all that. So while yes, it's a key point in the use of technology, it's not the prime purpose. Okay, somebody said it's not hearing me very well. I hope my audio is good. Can somebody else?
Your audio is very good, Doctor.
All right. All right then. Thanks for the confirmation. So let's move on. Because of time, let's move on. But I hope you are seeing the angle at which I'm coming from, because we really need to reorient ourselves on actually what the technology, innovative technology use in the education sector is all about. Now, let's look at this. Greater use of internet by students results in better academic performance. True or false? So once again, let's have you on the chat. So I'm waiting for your responses. Okay, I see some of you are true, false, true, true, false. Okay, so maybe in this session, the host, you may enable. I'm going to call on maybe 2-3 people, if you don't mind, to give me the reasons for their choice here, because I have a multiple results here. I have true, I have false, I have depends and all that. So I would randomly call a name here. So let's see. Okay, I have a raised hand. So maybe we just do 3 raised hands. But I want somebody who said true. I want somebody who said false. I want somebody who said depends. So I want one person from each. Someone said not so true or not all the time. So those are the ones who are on the come see, come kind of thought line. Some who say false and some who say true. So we just want to pick maybe the first 3 of those in each of those categories.
You can have Caroline first. Caroline, you can unmute your mic and speak.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes.
What I discover as a teacher is that whenever I give my students homework, that they should go and research and find some other points or some other things that they could find about any given assignment, I find out that most of them goes home to research and tell me other things that even me does not even know. So it's helping them. It's making them to be exposed to the whole thing. Just like you teaching them, giving them just little things, but they now have the whole thing to themselves. So for me, the students I've taught over the years, there has been positive response from them. So I believe it's true. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, so do we have anybody from the false category? Anybody who says no, not true, false? Because I wouldn't. Can we pick from the right? Okay.
Did you
Good
say
evening, everyone.
Is your option true or false?
It's false.
Okay, all right, you can speak on.
Okay, why I pick false is because gone are those days. Now a lot of students depend on the internet for their research and fact finding about a particular course or assignment that has been given to them. Though I'm not disputing the fact that internet do helps, but it makes them lazy, and they actually do digress instead of finding or deliberating on the actual assignment and the point that they've been given. They go extra mile, and though it's helping a bit, it's not really actually talking about the actual points which they were given, and resulting in cumbersome answers to their questions which they were given. That's the problem that I'm having with the internet.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So do we have one person from the defense who is a comsa, is either this or that?
Okay, Divine, we want to know which side are you? Hello, Divine.
Hello, good evening. Hello,
Good
can you
evening.
hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, I really appreciate. I'm on the false side. Why I say is false is because using the internet doesn't really mean that you are using it positively or you are using it to get something that will really help you. Some students can be on the internet, but they are doing something else. So at the end of the day, they might just go after, they might have wasted a whole number of time doing some other thing, then they will go to copy and paste the work and bring it to you and say, okay, copy and paste assignment that even when you ask them to defend it, they won't be able to defend it. So that's why I said that greater use of it doesn't really yield better academic performance from the students. Thank you.
All right. So, okay, so I would just quickly read out some of the comments. I'm sorry, I know a lot of hands are raised up, and if we sit on this, we can actually take nothing less than 30 minutes on it. So, but so that we can just move forward from here. Let me just read one or two. Uganda, Grace says it's false because not all students who get access to internet use it for academic purposes. When they get access, they Google football, Wall of Fame, and pay little attention to the academics. So that's somebody's own position here. And quite a lot of other people who are giving reasons for their choices for yes or no. Makes it very interesting reading. Okay, so let's see what research says, because we want evidence-based conclusions from our discussion. Yeah, so we see here, so sorry for those who raised their hands. For time's sake, we may not be able to take everybody's comments. Heavy internet use by Kube found that correlated with poor academic performance. While Fune and Chen, of course, when they are surfing the internet for course materials, has a positive net effect. And that I just collaborated with what you all have said. It really depends. It's really not a yes or no. It's really, like I said earlier, technology is like two-faced, depends on the purpose which is used. So it can both be positive and negative depending on how it is being used. So teachers and students need to practice the skills to navigate online life with greater awareness. And so that is where digital citizenship comes in. Well, that's where it's a critical, the education is critical for all. So you can see it says greater use of internet by students results in better academic performance. So it's really neither true nor false, but depending on what it's being used for, how it is being used, who is guiding, who is facilitating, what contents are being engaged with, and all that. So it has to be purposeful for the academic purpose, and not just that fact that, oh, we have internet access at home or we have internet access at school, and therefore that guarantees better learning outcomes. And okay, let's also run on this. I guess, so this question here is, knowledge of digital tools is all that a teacher needs to utilize the new age digital pedagogies. So once again, we are back on the charts. Is this true or false? Okay. Okay. So we also have a mixed party here. We have some true, some false. Okay, maybe I should call out names here. We have, who says false here? Let me get down. Just pick somebody randomly. So maybe the first person to respond was Naimeka. You said false. And so if you could unmute and tell us why you said false. And then Daniel's Moses was on the party of true. So he may also unmute after in Naimeka to tell us why he chose true. So we just get some verbal responses because we have a mix.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor, and good evening, everyone. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes,
hello,
we can hear
you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. All right, so I actually chose false because, you know, apart from having the knowledge, an educator should be able to use this digital tools skillfully. So if you don't have the skills, the knowledge alone, it's not all you need to use to impact knowledge in this digital age. So the skills are also very, very important. So if you have the knowledge and you can't use them effectively to transform or to bring about behavioral changes in the pupils or students, then it's not just it. So I think that's just why I went for the first. So it's not just about the knowledge, it's the knowledge, the skill, and the purpose, bringing about the behavioral changes and enhancing learning or facilitating learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. I think I mentioned somebody's name for true. I don't remember again. I've forgotten who I called on. And so if you remember my calling on your name, you can unmute yourself. If not, I will just leave it to the host to maybe take one or two more voices, and then we'll move on because of time. So, Mr. Emmanuel, you can randomly assign. Okay, so we have some responses on the chats. While some are saying yes, it's true, you need the digital skills. I think the need for subject knowledge as well as teaching and learning skills come first. Integration is the best way to utilize knowledge for a better outcome. Yeah, so we have people who say it's true, but let's, Mr. Emmanuel, are you assigning anyone to add their voices here, or do we just go ahead? Hello, am I audible?
We can hear you.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Okay,
All right, thanks. All right, okay, we have Ibrahim Sanusi. So since you're already unmuted, let's have your take.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for the opportunity. Actually, we're learning a lot from this session. My own opinion is, I think it's not just the digital knowledge, but it is also important for a teacher to have the subject knowledge as well as the teaching and learning skills. That is only when the digital skills can also assist him in delivering in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so digital skills are not all that is needed. like the first person in America, if I got his name correctly again, is you have the skills, but if you don't know how to apply the skills effectively, so like during the COVID, we realized that yes, a lot of people were giving free applications, people are tapping into different kind of RCT apps and to use, but there was a lot of gaps that were noticed from teachers' engagement using technology during that period, because it goes beyond just content development. You have to think about how the resources, so just how you write your resource on the blackboard is not the same way, because we saw a lot of people just converting their notebooks into e-copies and sharing. And if you say, oh yes, I'm using technology, and there was no instructional effectiveness. And we've also seen quite during that period or that period, and even sometimes now, where teacher trainings will be taught, teachers will be taught using some particular applications. I know there'll be so much focus on the ICT tool and not on the pedagogy, or not on the digital pedagogy. And then after, the teacher knows, oh yes, this is what this tool is used for, and this is how to put it on and put it off, but does not know how to translate it in teaching maths, English, geography, whatever subject content they are used. So technology skill alone is not enough. You need skills and knowledge of pedagogy. You need skills and knowledge of assignment design when you're using technology. You need to know how to engage your learners with using technology. So these are all part of things that are critical to the use of digital technologies effectively. So beyond the applications, beyond the tools, beyond the knowledge of being an expert in Excel or presentation softwares and the rest, how does that translate to effective teaching and learning, even in the classroom? So thank you all for contributing in this, making this session quite interactive. So let's run on. So we see that teachers can fully utilize technology to, use technology purposefully, because we're talking about enhancing engagement. Enhanced engagement, improved engagement will lead to improved outcomes. So not just for technology tools, it also helps in providing choice and support for learners. You talk about differentiation, you talk about personalized learning, build skills. So when we use this with our students, we're helping them to build skills they need to learn, like a lady talked about when she gave them assignments. They go to the internet to source for information, and sometimes come back with even much more information that she expected them to come out with. So they need to learn, how to collaborate, share, and all that. These are skills that are beyond just content also, but they are skills that you also incorporate while using technology. And of course, most importantly, applying an innovative pedagogy with technology, which includes content structure, learner engagement, formative assessments, scaffolding, and all. There's so much that we can talk about, but so little time to talk about that. But at least at the end, I just want to bring us into awareness of what effective and purposefully use of digital technology, innovative use of digital technology in the education sector and in curriculum development. Especially when it comes to curriculum development, we always want to use, because ICT in itself is not the magic wand. There still has to be principles that guide your curriculum development, the principles that guide your content development, your lesson development, and such that we would readily borrow from the building industry, from the architectural industries, the universal design for UDL, universal design. We have brought it into the education sector and changed it to UDL, because when we talk about universal design for learning. And so this is a concept borrowed from the architectural setting or my previous background, which is industrial designing. And because we want to talk about user friendliness, we are thinking about the people that we are designing this particular product for. We think about the people we are designing the product for. We think about the purpose of the product. We think about the user friendliness. We think about the ease of use. For instance, when for instance, let me take something, a simple product like a chair. There is no average person. Like, so the average man's height is 4 point whatever, his average age of a person is 60. And so 60 kg, you now design the chair for a 5.5 person with 60 kg. What happens when a 70 kg man sits on it and all that? So when we are designing that chair, we're thinking about the variety of people that may need to sit on that chair, and how we will design the chair in a way that it will accommodate all kinds of users. And so that is the sense of universal design. And bringing it into the educational sector, we talk about universal design for learning. So in essence, how do we also design learning to suit the variability of learners that we have in our classroom? So, and all that. So that is what's universal. It's a lot to go into, but it's a concept that once you have a grasp of it, when you begin to implement technology, it actually you will now be using technology, implementing technology in a more effective way. So universal design for learning is that learning, a design for learning that is universally applicable. So it's not one size fits all. And it's premised on the fact that our learners are different. And I'm sure if I ask you in the many ways your learners are different, there's no how in your classroom you have an homogeneous setting. Even if they are all 10 years old, they come from different backgrounds, they come from different socioeconomic setting, they have different IQ levels, they have different speed of comprehension, they have different assimilation rates and all that. So you have a multiple of a variety of learners in your classroom. And we know that our learners are different. No, having come into that understanding, then we should know that one method or one resource or assessment cannot suit all. Now, especially for those in the primary sector or lower level classes, you would agree with me that there are some students who are very vocal. They're very vocal, they're auditory. And if you ask any question, they answer. And then it comes to the end of term exams, and they don't do too well because they are not good in writing. But our assessment is only, and then when you focus your assessment only on those who can write, such children are shortchanged because their strength isn't in writing. They are not, their strength is in auditory. They have auditory strength, and they can explain to you whatever you need to know, but may find it difficult in translating it to words on the paper. And so that's why we say one method, one resource, or one assessment cannot suit all. Even as adults, because I work also in the university, and at times we have seminars where people at the master's level come to do their defense. And you see somebody who has written something so beautifully and yet struggles to present that because his strength isn't auditory. And sometimes we see the reverse. And you ask the question, oh, what are you intending? But it's not written in your work. And the person is able to explain in details and with so much understanding that you get from him explaining the process he wants to go about it, but in capturing it, even in his work, it's not as clear as that. So this is even not only for children, even for us, for adults, we have our preferences when it comes to learning or passing out or being assessed. And so we say from the universal design of learning that having the knowledge that all learners are different, not one method or resource suits all. Therefore, design needs to offer flexibility and support. And this is where technology comes to play, because what would have been difficult in the traditional classroom is enabled by technology. Technology offers more flexibility to address this diversity that our classroom has. And so universal design of learning is saying, understand this. And so when you use technology, you are using it to address this variety of learners and the different levels of challenge or barrier to learning that may come up because of their individual peculiarities there. So technology in the using UDL can help you also use technology to offer options and support in how contents are represented. So the variety of ways that you present content to meet the different learning preferences, videos, audios, graphic, words, and all that. How learners engage with a topic or a theme. So it's not just one way. For those who are prefer to do something, they have the opportunity to use their hands. For those who prefer to engage watching videos, they have the opportunity. For those who prefer to read text, technology gives you a variety of options that you can use your learners can engage in on the same topic. And also creating a variety in how they express what they know. So we've had people using Flip, people recording themselves on video. This is how I did it. People writing essays. I practically looked at a particular, when my son was applying for a particular university, they were giving a particular project to write upon and giving different options of presenting that same project. Either they wanted to make slides, they wanted to do a video, they wanted to write an essay. They were given different video options. And I said, oh, this is the application of universal design for learning, because they understand that not everybody prefers to express what they know in one particular way. And technology enables these options even in our classroom. So we know that the learning shift is happening, whether we want to accept it or not as an educator. We know that the learning shift is happening and is happening now. And as educators, we need to understand this and onboard on that bus. If not, the bus will leave us behind. classrooms are moving away from teacher-led classrooms to project-based learning, where hands-on and all that. It was once before that you would say the teacher was a custodian of knowledge and his teacher was the sage on the stage. Whatever the teacher says was final. That isn't happening anymore, because as you are speaking, if you are in a class where there is internet access or technology, because I even do it, you find students quickly browsing or checking up what you're saying, if it's authentic or not. And so it's no more the teacher said it and it must be that. Traditional classrooms are moving away to flipped classrooms, where people are actually doing assignments in the classroom and students are studying content and reading their lessons even at home. We have independent learning way where students face one person by his book, it's myself and I, and where you now have people put in teams, collaborative learning, students engaging one another to learn a particular content. And we are moving away from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning. So knowing all this, what will make today successful? We need to gain a strategic and holistic view of education. And I believe that your sessions in the past few days have been doing rather. You need to learn how technical solutions can support your transformation. So what is the kind of transformation you seek in your classroom with the use of technology? You need to know what kind of transformation first and foremost, and how technology solutions can support it. Then create for yourself a roadmap. What are the areas I lack? What are the areas, what are my gaps? What are my identifiable gaps? Where do I need more learning? Where do I want to get to? And you need to create for yourself a roadmap, for your school, a roadmap, and then work to meet the milestones in that roadmap. Create a digital transformation plan. So these are the places I want to get to. I want to at the end be able to do this with my students using technology. But this is where I'm at now. These are things I need to know. This is how I go about knowing them, attending this kind of programs, doing self-study, going on free courses and all that. So we need to ensure that you make a success of your practice. And we see that even in our public schools, with a lot of grants, with a lot of organizations supporting, our classroom is changing in a variety of ways. And you've heard about EdTech robots, virtual reality classrooms, gamified classroom activities. And it's making it easier for students to stay engaged through fun forms of learning. So these are ways that our classroom is changing. And of course, you have EdTech IoT devices. So whether your school classroom is physical, whether it's virtual, whether they're studying from at home, a lot of things are happening where technology is concerned in education. Even machine learning and blockchain tools are also been assisting teachers. For those, you may wonder how this is coming to play, but that's just the truth. You know, with grading of tests, with, holding students accountable for homework and all that, where students get prompts, get reminders, your deadline for submission is this, have you done this and that? So there's a lot happening. Emerging technologies, so school and educators are incorporating emerging technologies to improve learning experiences. And this technology include, this is not just an exhaustive list, but we think smart boards and interactive displays, most of us are familiar with, some of us are not, because we don't have, our schools don't have them yet. We are moving into virtual and augmented reality. The world is beginning to adopt this even in classrooms. It's cutting down costs. In medical school, you can dissect a body, go into organ dissection without actually killing anybody or using any human body for all that, because virtual and augmented reality is coming to play. Machine learning, AI platforms, educational apps, so many emerging technologies are coming to play. And so we need to ask, what is the future of education what is the plan of education for the future and also for the now? Because in a world that is changing faster, sorry, I'm rushing now because I see my time is almost, I'm really exhausting my time. In a world that is changing faster than ever before, if you are not moving forward, you are falling further behind. As educators, I said in the beginning, you have signed up for a lifelong learning journey. And you must continue to build your knowledge so that you don't get left behind or you do not become obsolete. Like it's normally said that technology will not replace teachers, but teachers who don't use technology will be replaced by teachers who do. So the future of classroom with AI is the in thing, AI is the trending thing. AI, whether we like it or not, is here to stay and even to develop and metamorphosize into something that we don't even know yet. So we see AI helping to overcome barriers to access to learning, helping to individualize curriculum, helping to create personalized learning, to teach and enhance future-ready skills, It's with AI, we're creating virtual environments. You have AI-assisted teachers. You know, you can identify unique social or physical needs of people, and AI helps to, you know, even make it easier for you to have a hybrid class where you have those people with disabilities and the abilities, you know, in the same class, and yet nobody's losing out on any of the contents because one has a form of disability or the other. And so also you have better institutional management. So we see AI in this area. So artificial intelligence, I wouldn't bother talking about this for time, but some of us are familiar with AI. So through machines analyze images, comprehend speech, interact with in natural ways, and make predictions using data. And these are some of the things that we are also bringing into the educational sector. But majorly, it's one of the things personally for me that I think AI is doing, that it's helping us, is predictive analytics. Where, you know, you have data. Sometimes we have a lot of school data, but you don't know, for instance, as a teacher, even if you've been with a particular class from primary 1 to primary 5, you really can't tell what a student's learning path has been, where he had a drop, or what may be his challenge in future. But with AI predictive analytics, if you have all that data, it can help you, you know, identify a student who may be having learning difficulties, flag a student that, oh, this student's having challenges in this particular time of his or period of his academic journey, and help you determine what learning interventions, you know, you can actually, you know, predict what learning interventions you could use to help address that student's problem. So it's really, I mean, it's really something, AI is really something, you know, that's doing. And all these are focused on improving students' learning outcomes, because if it's easy for you to identify a student who is having an issue, and it tells you that, oh, it is in this area specifically is having an issue, you don't need to beat around the bush, just go straight there and attend to that learning barrier or challenge that the student is having. And we've seen it improve a lot of learning outcomes, you know, with evidence-based learning outcomes. It's also changing the landscape of assessments. So we are shifting from traditional testing to more authentic and performance-based testing, as against just write, cram and drop. With AI, it's more authentic, it's more performance-based, and there is a growing emphasis on formative assessment, as against that one that we will just wait till the end and do a summative assessment, which we know truly is not the best form of assessing students' knowledge. And so technology is redefining the roles of educators. It's moving us from graders, people who just mark, to coaches, because like we established, you are not more the custodian of knowledge. You are no more just an evaluator. It's changing the role of educators from evaluators to supporters, because the destination, the goal, is also in face of the child, and the child is owning his own learning process, and you are there at the side, like, you know, urging the child on, identifying where he's having challenges, removing those barriers, and, you know, supporting his learning journey. And it's also changing you from instructors to facilitators, because they don't need to wait on you to learn. They don't need to wait on you to get information, but you could help facilitate their knowledge on how, or facilitate or guide them on how, you know, direct their paths to exactly how they can actually enhance or get the information, proper information, and not be distracted online. But you're acting the role of a facilitator. And we're still talking about assessment, how to assess learning in a technology-driven way, embrace authentic assessment, project-based assessment, case studies, things that they need to apply knowledge on, move up to the higher level of the Bloom's taxonomy, to analyzing, synthesizing, and all that, apart from recall that we just do when we do what is and all that. Focus on process over products. This is another danger that we find in our classroom, where we're just interested in who came first, who was the highest. Like I would always do with, sometimes when I talk about this with teachers, I will ask you, who has a better performance? A child who came into your class, for instance, you are teaching ABC, and you want your students to, the final outcome or the learning goal is that your students will be able to recite A to T. And you have your students, some of them came in with B, some of them came in with knowledge of, the entry knowledge was at F. And somebody came with an entry knowledge that was just A and B. And so you see this B and F, you see the F attaining to T, which is your learning outcome or goal. And you see A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so what's before T, before I begin to recite ST, right? Yes, S. And you see the students who came in with letter B are turning to S. In our normal traditional setting, we will give the B, the one who attained T, which is our learning goal, the best performance, not putting in cognizance that he came with an entry level of F. And somebody who came with an entry level of B had actually improved to getting to the level of letter S. In that vein, the person had much more process improvements. And if we look at the process and celebrate process and not just products, you'll be able to identify students who are putting effort at learning, who are actually even learning more in the classroom than just the final product and saying, oh, this had 91 and this person had 78. But yet the person who had 78 came in with an entry knowledge of 30%. And the person who had 91 came with an entry knowledge of 60. So if you understand with me, you see when it comes to process, the person who came with 30 actually learns more than the person who came. So let's focus not only on the product, but also on the process. Create social learning opportunities, let their learning skills, learning how to collaborate, communicate, and all that. Be transparent about your expectations, especially when you're using technology and AI, and get creative with the use of technology. There's so much to unpack here, but we'll just quickly move on. So how do you harness EdTech for better teaching and learning? There are some examples of some ways that you can use personalized assessments, provide real-time feedback. This feedback can help students to identify their weakness and strength. Now, for instance, when you are marking in the traditional way with paper, because of this, if you're working in public schools, especially where you have a large number of people, you do CA, they may not get to see the response of their CA till time for exams. But when you use technology, you can give immediate feedback. So if you're using tools like Class Notebook, OneNote, or Open Forms and all that, you could give immediate feedback. The child sees immediately what his assessment results are. He sees the area in where he has struggled and where he needs to improve, and can be better prepared for the next level of assessments. As against when we use the paper-based and then we have to take time to mark, and sometimes we don't even return those papers to the students. They don't even know where they failed, where they fell, and where they need to improve. So all these are ways that we can actually help our students enhance with the use of EdTech. Some other strategies to impact, it's, of course, imbibing the 21st century learning design, where in your classroom, beside content, you're helping your students learn how to collaborate, know how to construct knowledge. You're teaching them self-regulation. You're teaching maths, but you're teaching them self-regulation. You're teaching English, but yet you're teaching real-world problem solving. You're using real-life scenarios. You're teaching the use of ICT and, of course, skill communication. So we're talking about the 21st century learning design. So it goes beyond just content, but also developing skills of our students. I won't spend time on this. Permit me to just skip. But these are just areas, questions you ask yourself. Okay, maybe let me quickly run through it. When you talk about collaboration, are they working in pairs? Are they working in groups? Do you give them opportunity to work in teams? Are students required to construct and apply their own knowledge to the particular kind of assessment, or is this knowledge interdisciplinary? Are they bringing knowledge from maths to apply in agri? Are they bringing knowledge from agri to apply in social studies? Is it interdisciplinary? Does it require solving real authentic world problems? Are you bringing data from real world? Like, for instance, maybe you're teaching accounts, you've gone to the stock market. This is what stock market is saying presently today. What is the solution? What can they, really using real world problems? Are they solving authentic problems or identifying problems in their neighborhoods and using it as a case scenario to use that subject to solve or profile solutions for that problem we they've identified in their community? Is it a long-term learning activity? Are they deciding how they work on their own, how they process the activity, when to submit, when to do what stage and all that, teaching self-regulation? Are they using ICT as passive consumers? They're just using to present their lessons well, or are they actually designing ICT products or engaging with ICT? And when skills communication, are they required to communicate their ideas? Do you give them opportunity to come forward before the class to make presentations, to communicate their ideas, to speak? Because we don't have to wait until they enter into the university or enter into their master's level when they now begin to present. And I used to smile because I know that some of us, that's where our hindrances started from, our limitations started, because we never really had the opportunity to stand before anybody to present anything until we got to the postgraduate level. So let us look at how to incorporate these things even in our classrooms. Now, when you're using and when you're using when you're using technology, what level are you using technology for? Are you using to enhance or transform? And when it comes to enhancement, we have the level of substitution, we have augmentation, and then for transformation, we have modification and redefinition. I'll spend a few minutes here. So when you talk about substitution, which actually is the first, the really basic level, where you, for instance, you had your notes in written hand notes, and then you now type them out and share them as digital notes or e-copies. That's substitution. You're moving from hardcover to soft copy. So that's substitution level. Now augmentation, using those same notes, for instance. Now, because you're making them into e-copies, you're able to add links to further reading. You're able to add images to that note that you couldn't have done, and all those other things that make the note much more explanatory that would have been difficult to have easily done it on the board when you were writing. Better images and all that, links to further reading, all this embedded in that note, you have augmented. So you have moved from just complete substitution to actually augmenting the engagement or experience your students are having. Then when we come to modification begins when you begin to transform that lesson. When technology allows for a significant redesign of a project or task. For instance, so instead of you actually creating that lesson notes, you now put that note on maybe Google Doc or Microsoft Word, and you share the link, or you put them in a file where all your students have access. And then you break those topics, the courses into topics, assign different groups of students to work and create the lesson notes for each of those subtopics. And they work collaboratively in the same space. That's modification, that you have moved your practice by one step higher. Now the students working in one same document from different places to build content together. And redefinition simply means what can you do that you what are you doing now that if not that you had technology, you wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's where things that were previously conceived, you couldn't have achieved it if not that technology is available to do that. And one of that is, for instance, let me take, for instance, you're teaching literature, maybe you're taking Wole Soyinka's book, and you invite Wole Soyinka into your classroom over Skype to discuss the content of that textbook, or that, not textbook, rather, the literature notebook. That is redefinition. Normally, Wole Soyinka may not even have been able to come into your class, but because you're doing it via Skype, via Teams, or whatever virtual tool or video conferencing tool, you're able to bring in guests from across the world. You're able to take your children on virtual trips across, connect with classrooms across the globe, discuss topics, collaborate with projects across the globe with students in London, in US, and all that, because technology enables it. And that is where redefinition actually comes in, something that wasn't possible without the use of technology. And so this just goes into breaking it more. I think I've done some explanation here. And so to wrap up, we're talking about the principle of educational technology, basically using technology in the educational sector for curriculum and all that. We are talking about the principle of purposiveness. You're not just using tech for tech's sake. You know why, you know what you want to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. And so you've already designed your content. You've looked at what you want to teach, how you want to teach it, and then you now decide what technology helps you to achieve that goal. We talk about the principle of economy. Just because it's new, just because it's trending, doesn't mean that it's the best. What can you afford at what time? I personally believe that effective technology use is not about quantity, but it's about quality. Even with the phone in your hand, how have you used it to enhance your teaching practice? And while you wait for that interactive whiteboard in your classroom, the principle of ease of use. So there's no need for you to struggle with the first 40 minutes in your class trying to set up a device. Ease of use should be something that is also very key when you're selecting technology to integrate into your classroom. The principle of availability. Or how easy can somebody access it? How available is it? If I use one part, for instance, if it comes in 4 parts, if I use one part now, can I get the second part? Is it something that's available for students also to use? Is it something that's available for the principle of availability is also very important. The principle of simplicity is also very key, so that you don't get distracted from the task at hand, trying to understand the tools, trying to understand the buttons, trying to understand how you navigate around the technology, and then you are actually distracting from the engagement on the tasks or the content in focus. The principle of stimulation, it should be something that your kids, want to quickly get engaged with, even without your prompting. And the principle of self-preparation. These are principles that guide and should guide your use of technology in education and in curriculum development. So I think I would, that's about it for sharing. I know I've taken quite some time, and I think I want to pause here and just take whatever questions that you may have for the little minutes that I have. So do we have time? Do we still have time for questions? Because I think I've talked.
So amazing and engaging. Thank you very much, Doctor. We sincerely appreciate this session. And, when we started today's session, the first comment was regards innovation and technology. And I mentioned that we have an industry expert she's going to do justice to that. So I believe we all have a better knowledge on the role of technology and innovation in line to education and also to curriculum development. Please, if you have a question, kindly use the comment section to drop your question. Our YouTube participants, please use the comment section to drop your questions while we are picking it up from there for the facilitator to attend to it. And those of us on Zoom, please, you can raise your hand, but we'll appreciate your question in 30 seconds so that we can manage the time and also ensure that each and every one of us participates in the Q&A session. Okay, Divine, you can unmute your mic and ask your question, please, in 30 seconds. And for those of us that want to use the comment section, we can do that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you so much. It was quite insightful, quite eye-opening. But please, my question is, what is the best tool to use? What's the best tool that you can use, especially when you don't have a laptop and your school, there's no IT facility that you can, what tool can you use with your phone at the moment? Thank you.
Okay, so like I said, there are different levels of technology integration. And sometimes I would always tell teachers, start with what you have. And so if you have a phone, one thing that I know that a phone can do is improve your lesson preparation. Because it gives you assets. It's like a walking library. So you're not limited to the content that you have in your school library. And so you could actually have very engaging content. You can find how people are teaching that same topic. You could be on communities on your phone. So first and foremost, for you as a teacher, how much are you using that device to improve your own self as a teacher, to improve your own preparation for class? I know that, again, using a phone may be very limiting, but then it's, like I said, it comes with how innovative and creative you are. So for instance, I don't know the number of people in your class. So if it's a 5-minute video, if it's a 5-second video, if it's a 1-minute video, and you've looked at your timing, and you have, okay, for instance, if it's a 1 or 2-minute video, and you've allocated 10 minutes, for instance, for technology integration, and how do you want to integrate technology into that class? By showing a video that would explain better the concept of whatever it is that you're teaching to your children. And you see that you have just 10 minutes because you have to do some other things. I remember when you do your lesson planning, you have time allocations. And so if you allocate 10 minutes for that, and that's why you must plan technology use. It doesn't just happen for it to be effective. And so you have your lesson planning, you have the purpose of why you want to integrate technology, you have the time allocated for it. So I'm just giving a case scenario. And depending on the number of your students, you can put them in groups where you know that even if they gather to watch that video at that point in time, they would all still have access to the screen. And so if it's a 2-minute video, you allocate time, 10 minutes, knowing that, okay, you are going to group your children into 5 groups. And so they get to share that time allotted to actually looking at what it is that you're showing them on your screen. So it's just about creativity. There's no one answer fits all. It's really just about creativity. What do I have in my hand, and how can I maximally use it while I'm able to, improve, or aspire for something better?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. And there's another question from Caroline Titilope. She asks that, please, what's the difference between an interactive board and a projector? Then there's another question from one of our YouTube participants, Ma Paki. How can we engage students from government schools to use technology since their school could not afford it and they are less privileged to afford a gadget? So those are the two questions we have in the comment section.
Okay, so I will start with projector and interactive whiteboard. So just the way the word is interactive, it allows you to manipulate things. You know, like for instance, you have a board that is like a touch screen. And so you can write, you can drag, you can present using the interactive whiteboard. But a projector just takes what you have and casts it on the surface. So it may not be interactive. You may not be able to interact with that presentation that is being cast. But when you use an interactive whiteboard, it means that you can interact with the content. So for instance, I can be sharing my content on an interactive whiteboard from my system, and I'm able to pick the pen from the board, annotate and all that. Or I can drag and drop, you know, and all that. Have my students come in, divide the board into space, and have them do different activities on the different sides of the screen. As against so it's a bit more collaborative, and you can have multiple people working on that board. If I'm casting or projecting from my system, I am the one who has the authority here, and it's personal to me. So it's whatever is on my system that the projector is casting on whatever projection surface is. So it's a bit, the interactivity there is what makes the difference between the interactive whiteboard and the projector. Then for the question about engaging public school students, believe you me, I have a network of teachers in my professional learning network that are mostly public schools and teachers, and they are doing amazing things. Amazing things. I still say it's about your innovation and your creativity. And let me give an, because sometimes we think that when we say don't have access, they do. Access is different from owning. So when they do have access, they may not own those devices, but believe you me, many of our public school students do have access. And when their custodians, guardians, or whoever they are know that it is for academic purposes, they'll be willing to give them that access. But notwithstanding, I remember going on because I am part of I volunteer with an NGO, and we went for an outreach at a place I would term very interior. But being an educator and all that, there were other things that caught my attention. I remember 3 guys, we went out to give out shoes, clothing, and all that, and the rest, school resources. I remember 3 guys that caught my attention there. And they had devices, and they were discussing and taking pictures and saying they're going to upload it on their Instagram page and all that and the rest. And I smiled and I said, when these ones go to class, the teachers will say these students don't have access to technology. But I'm seeing these students here, you wouldn't imagine that they had devices, but there were 5 standing, 3 of them had devices. Somehow. And that still corroborates with what I believe, that even in the rural, even in these public sectors, these public schools, our students have access. Even if they don't own, they have access. And if you would show them how to use that access they have to better their learning experience, I'm sure that even though they don't bring it into school, they can bring in the final product, or you see it influencing their outcomes. So it's really about creativity and thinking out of the box. How can I use this little access they have to still enable better performance for my kids, even though the school doesn't have this access right now?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Doctor. And the very last question is coming from one of our YouTube participants, Frank Eke. He said, the role of technology in education development is instructive, but we are limited to availability. How do we overcome this situation? But before you answer, Ma, please, we would like to take a question from Mr. John. You can unmute your mic and ask your question, please, in 30 seconds, so that we can just wrap up the session.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor. I think we might want to steal you because I'm a member of Professor Kibukola's research group. So most likely we might want to invite you for that. Anyway, thanks for the privilege of being here and you enlightening us further. But I have something to say. I'm one of the advocates of teachers not just being exposed to the world outside education. as teachers, I usually say we have two legs. Because if you read education or if you study education, say chemistry, you have both chemistry and you have the educational background. So what stops you from working in some industry and getting a first-hand knowledge? Because truth be told, that is where the problem is. Because when you have no practical knowledge of what you're talking about, you won't share any knowledge past what the textbook says. I'm a cybersecurity person, and I'm being mentored by Professor Bukola, all right? And I just said, so one of the meetings we had with the World Bank delegates that came to Africa Center of Excellence in Lagos University.
Okay, so Mr. John, I think for time, let me just address what you said so far, because I think we are pressed for time. Okay, so I understand. So we have what we call technology integration frameworks. And one of the ones that would address what you're talking about is what we call the TPAC, where you have technology, pedagogy, and content having to intercept. So you do have the content knowledge. You have the pedagogical knowledge, which most of us teachers have. So when you don't have the education and you have only the content, maybe you study chemistry, you didn't do chemistry education, you're a content master, you may be lacking in pedagogy. So you do know what it is about, but you don't know how to break it down so that others can learn. And so doing the education section of it and empowers you with the pedagogy. So you have what we call the PK, which is PCK, which is pedagogical content knowledge. But where we now are at is the technology, now looking for how that technology situates itself in the pedagogy. And so that we have the TPK or TPAC, as it's easy to call, where we say first and foremost, the content determines the pedagogy, because you can't teach every content in the same manner. Some require practical, some require theory, some require project-based learning, some require short lectures and all that. So when you have decided this is the content I'm teaching, this is the best teaching strategy for it, then you look for the best technology option. Now, when it comes to sciences, unfortunately, I'm a PhET fellow, and some of us are aware of PhET simulations, where they create simulations for most of the laboratory aspects of sciences, where most schools, especially for us here, don't have the resource to actually build those kind of labs. So that's where virtual augmented reality comes in. That's where simulation comes in. With PhET simulations, for instance, that I'm very aware of, you can actually have those setups in a simulated manner, and you can do, vary the data, vary the variables, change the weights, see what happens, predict the outcomes and all that. You could actually have a practical experience of those contents. I will say this, that one of the things that took me into EdTech was because I watched an animation on chemistry. And that was many years back. And I said, who are those who teach in this manner? Who makes learning this interesting for people like us who are visual educators? And that's how I entered into EdTech, because I really wanted to change the way education was being delivered and received by students in my own little way. And so you have, so that's where technology is coming, virtual realities, virtual laboratories. You have virtual laboratories. We have resources like PhET simulation. And the beautiful thing about PhET simulations is that you can download them. You don't have to be online to use them. And you can use that to explain the practical concept. And your students can actually also, interact with that practical aspect, just the same way you'd have a laboratory experience, but now you're doing it virtually. So, technology is actually addressing some of that gap that we have, where resources and then practicals. Industry, I believe it's important, but not every teacher can have the industrial engagements, because you don't even have enough industry to actually accommodate that. And even right now, we are just beginning to develop our, the research industry and research integrations, which is not very common even in our country, even at the higher education level, if you would agree with me. Not to talk about the lower levels. I mean, we're just becoming aware and trying to find that integration between industry and the gown and the town, as we would say. So while we wait for us to evolve to that level, we could use our virtual laboratories that are accessed. PhET simulations are free for teachers. They will give you lesson guides to assist with you and everything. So if you're teaching sciences at primary level, you have content there. At senior level, you have content there. And so you don't deny yourself based on the lack of resources or materials that you have in the school, in your school. So please let's look at that route. And then Emmanuel, sorry, please, I forgot the question from the YouTube so that I can quickly address that also.
So the question from YouTube is the role of technology in education development is instructive, but we are limited to availability. How do we overcome this situation?
So one of the things I've talked about is also addressing the availability. I talked about, even if like I said, I believe that technology integration isn't about quantity, it's about quality of use. So you could have one laptop and actually be doing tremendous things in your classroom and really enhancing your students' learning and engagement. But sometimes we think that until you have the big break, just like I talked about the mobile phones, it's all about creativity and innovation. And the thing I've seen happen, especially with teachers in public schools, when you start with what you have, you begin to get support. People notice the impact that you're making in your classroom with the limited resource that you have, and you begin to get support. I have people like that have gotten support, people just sharing, oh, this is what this person is doing, their students participating in this, and then one organization decides to assist you in achieving that which you want to do, because they've seen that you have the passion and the grit to go about it. So it's really not about the quantity, but let's first start with what we have and see how we can make the best use of that in a very quality manner. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I remember during our discussion earlier this evening, someone mentioned regarding grants, and I said, in as much as you have a sustainable and scalable innovation, you can always get grant for it. And you don't also have to wait till you have a 1 million naira grant or 500,000 grant before you start the project. Start something, document it well, do a good story, and let there be pictures, evidence for all these things, and the grant will follow. And thank God Dr. also responded to that. And I believe it's been a wonderful session for each and every one of us this evening. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this insightful session, despite the very short schedule. And sincerely, we really appreciate you so much, Doctor, and the impact which you've caused this evening. We so much appreciate you. Thank you very much. On behalf of the leadership of ADEV Africa, we sincerely appreciate this great session. We might not be able to take any question again, but please, Doctor, I want to ask and seek your indulgence on the best way to get to network or contact you. I know that our educators that are on Discord, they are primary school and secondary school teachers in various African countries. They would like to connect with you or relate with you or ask further questions and in line to their career prospects. Please, which of this platform you like to share, they can reach out to you.
So basically, you can find me on majorly most of the social media platforms, although I'm not very active on.
Yes, yes, due to your busy schedule.
Busy schedule right now, but yes. You could also send me a mail, especially if you have a specific need. But if you search for me on social media, you find me. Oluwakemi Oluriola is the name. On Twitter, you just have a K in front of the Oluriola, so it's called Oluriola on Twitter and some other Instagram and all that. Please just drop me a message along with it to say, oh, we met on this particular program, so I know where we're engaging from. When you do reach out, and then if you want to reach out by mail, just the same thing. Put the letter K in front of my surname, which is K Oluriola at it could be Outlook, it could be Gmail. So most times I just use that, or it could be my organization's email, which is koluriola@esquitech.com. So basically, I don't have a complex handle. I just put the Kemi because I comfort, so I just use the letter K in front of my surname, and with that you can find me practically most places. So please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oluriola. It's been a wonderful session this evening. And on behalf of the entire participants, also the management of ADEV Africa, we say a big thank you. And please, you can also use the comment section to appreciate Doctor for this wonderful session, which she has shared with us this evening. And please, I would just like to say 3 basic things before we end today's call. And the learning resource, which we've already shared during the week 2 of this training, it's still available for all the facilitators, all the educators. Please, let's ensure we get to the link and download all the resources. And also, I can see someone was already asking for the slide presentation. This will be made available, and we can also check that on the back end for learning resources, then please, the self-paced course, also endeavor to work on it and engage on it. And we look forward to having tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session is going to be by 4 p.m. and that's going to be the final training session. It's on project management, and definitely we are also going to be having someone from Project Management Institute that is going to be facilitating this amazing session. Once again, we say a big thank you to Dr. Luriola for this great session which we had with her this evening, and we look forward to share and have you in some of our other events and engagement, Doctor. Thank you so much, and wish you a wonderful weekend, man.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, dear educators, it's been a wonderful time this evening. We look forward to connect and by 4 p.m. tomorrow for the last session on the Teach4SDGs workshop series. The evaluation and tracking form has been shared. Please endeavor you give endeavor you fill that out before you leave today's workshop series. And also for those who are on YouTube, it's been pinned on the YouTube comments. You can always check that and fill that. And yes, if there are other information, please, you can share on the group. The community managers are going to attend to you and they will definitely respond to each of our needs. Thank you. We get to have more further deliberation and information on the next activity of the program. Have a wonderful weekend, great educators.